Welcome to the Flipside of Crypto interview. Joining me today is a new social media channel. It might be the one to actually be the 21st century leader for crypto influencers and similar influencers and the like. Joining me today is Leon. Leon, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here. Nice to meet you.
So, Leon, I talked you up that you might be the next big social media platform. You might be the new way for influencers to talk to their audiences in an authentic way and how to monetize it in a new way. What is your new platform? How did the idea come about?
Sure. I think to start off, maybe I'll give you like a brief history of how we came up with the idea first, right? So I've been interested in the crypto space for quite some time, and I've been an avid social media user for many, many years since Facebook first came out. And I think it's not a mystery that a lot of people find traditional legacy social media has certain problems, right? And that includes censorship, blockages to creators, YouTubers consistently getting demonetized, and even if you're doing okay, you have to monetize through these gatekeepers, these third parties, right? And usually that involves drop shipping, affiliate links, getting sponsorship deals, shout outs, and all that stuff. So it's been harder and harder for creators to monetize their social media activity. And for a lot of them, it's their job, right? And you produce content, so you would know even more insights about this industry than I do, probably. And so on the other side of the table, we have the viewers, right? So those that are watching, you guys are the viewers, and you might not even know it, but what you get to see on social media are all controlled by the almighty algorithm, right? Like, why would a centralized social platform show you a picture of your friend if they can show you a picture of a beautiful guy and and then you would convert and actually buy something off some online store? So these are some downsides of traditional centralized social media. And earlier this year, we've seen the boom of the NFT market, right? I mean, NFT volume sale on OpenSeas and Rarible, I believe, went up by 3,000% at least. And this educated a lot of people on what NFTs are and what it can do. However, it is my belief and my team's that NFT as a collectible is in a bubble. And I don't think the future of NFT is going to be purely collecting JPEGs, but rather NFT as a technology, right? It is essentially a unique digital identifier that can be applied to many verticals, many different industries. And we're already starting to see this trend, for example, in gaming, right? Like users want to feel true ownership to their in-game items, like their armor, their swords, whatever that may be. So yeah, in summary, I think the future of NFT is going to be utility driven, and instead of just being a collectible. NFT is a feature inside a product. It shouldn't be just a product. And so we looked into different verticals, and one of which we stumbled across was social space. As I've described this now, there's been a lot of problems with current social media. So we tried to disrupt the social media space using NFTs and also staking pools, an element of DeFi, to create a new way for creators to monetize and a new way for users to consume content. And I can get into deeper like how it works later.
Yeah. So there's quite a bit to unravel. So first of all, you started off on the premise that current social media is flawed. I think you'll find little pushback on that point. We clearly see there's a lot of difficulties for monetization. So your point on NFTs, however, does intrigue me. Why do you think we are in the bubble?
So this, again, I think we're treading in the zone of opinions. So I'm not saying I'm just saying I think. So I was involved in a few ICOs back in 2016-17, and a lot of them never got listed, or even if they did, they didn't last until the current bull run, right? Assuming we're still in the bull run. And a lot of the reason why that happened is that those projects didn't really need blockchain to exist. Like, you don't need a blockchain to build, I don't know, a Uber booking system, right? For example. So a lot of the projects back then just kind of put the buzzword blockchain in there, and then they raised funding, they built a project, and they didn't last. So I think NFTs are seeing a similar trend right now, which is literally every day there are NFT drops lately, like 10,000 generative art, and most of them would sell for about like maybe $100 to $200 each. So they would run away with $1 to $2 million with very little effort. And all of them would have like similar roadmaps, like, oh, we're going to create a play to earn game, we're going to do this, we're going to get airdrops and all that stuff. But um, the amount of money they receive compared to the amount of effort they put in, that
Right.
discrepancy is what tells me there's too much money flooding into the system without a lot of due diligence. And if that's not a definition of a bubble, then I don't know what is. And
Yeah.
however, I want to put a disclaimer out there. It's that collectibles has this market, right? Exotic
Yeah.
investment has been a thing human beings do for many decades. And um, some collectible collections, such as Bored Ape Yacht Club, CryptoPunks, maybe even Degen Ape, these guys have established a status that I don't think it'll ever go away. Like, um, even in the next bull run, or maybe decades from now, people will remember Bored Ape Yacht Club as one of the collections that started to get retail to be interested into the crypto world, right? So I think they definitely have a place to stay. However, NFT, I think as a technology, will not continue to exist in this form, but rather it will evolve into like different applications, just like fungible tokens did back in the day.
Yeah, so beautiful segment into. So this is the next evolution for the social network. So could you unwrap this for me? So first of all, the current social media landscape is kind of controlled by a very strict algorithm, which is advertiser friendly to say the least, right? And the algorithm is in many cases judge, jury, and executioner in terms of do you get monetized or not. How does your platform combat this problem? What new features do you introduce?
I'm not even going to talk about China and its social
Oh,
media.
that's a Pandora's box. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that you kind of have to be there to really feel what it means to be censored.
Yeah.
Um,
Awesome.
like obviously there's still VPN, but then it's a kind of a different beast over there. However, I think with traditional social media, like it's not a secret that most people feel their user data is being monetized and they're not
Yeah.
comfortable with it. They're not sure what's being tracked. The fact that Facebook probably knows more about me than I do kind of scares people, right? And
Yeah.
that's something that I think has a demand from the market. So the market is pulling for a solution. And I think the reason why I think Web3 is the solution to this problem is that, the entire central focal point of that issue I just described is centralization and control of personal data. And blockchain, interestingly enough, is the opposite of that, right? Like, I think, however, this gets into a very philosophical discussion because what is true decentralization, right? We keep saying this is adapt, this is adapt, but to what extent does it have to be decentralized enough? For example, you could host a website on a decentralized domain nowadays. You can store images in a decentralized storage system like Arweave or IPFS, but you cannot run an entire application on a decentralized database or server. There's no such
True.
thing. And sure, you can operate with a DAO. You can have your token stakers operate some sort of a consensus mechanism to run the project. But still, you need a centralized team to build it. You need investors. You need early adopters. So in that regard, I think the degree of centralization is actually not one and zero. It's not binary. It's really more of a spectrum. And that to answer your question for social media, I think we're getting step and step closer to actually having a decentralized social media. And the evolution happens quite naturally. Even back in 2016-17, there's been other projects trying to build a Web3 social platform, and that includes a project like Steemit, or
Yeah.
Mithril, or Gifto, right? So these guys mostly involve, rewarding content creators. Steemit, I think, is one of the biggest back then, which is basically Medium, but built on, I
Yeah.
believe, Ethereum. And so, because of multiple reasons, tokenomics included, probably, they don't really are not as flourishing as before. So we're getting like new generations of social platforms. One of the biggest is probably BitClout, BitCloud has gotten quite famous earlier this year because they did feature a lot of famous celebrities on their platform. However, one could argue they didn't get the consent to do so. More on that if you want to know more about it.
Yeah.
But today, Web3 social media is mostly about creator tokens. So basically, it's a solution to the last generation of social platforms on blockchain, which is the tokenomics is hyperinflationary. You keep rewarding content creators to a point where the token doesn't have much use case.
Right.
So by creating creator tokens, which means every content creator has their own pool of fungible tokens, and users can then trade these tokens to get access to the creator. That kind of decouples the inflation problem with the platform. So from an economical point of view, I think that's a brilliant solution. However, from a use case point of view, they are sort of leveraging social media to let people do more trading. It looks more like a DeFi platform than a social media. So we're trying to flip that script and really prioritize social engagement. And the way we do this is with something we call creator staking pool and something called Genesis NFT.
All right, that's quite a bit to unwrap again. I see a tendency here. You drop so many nuggets of information, and then each one of them has even more, let's just say, filling in it. So let's unwrap. The current system, Steemit, the previous ones, the first generation, were inflationary, as you said, and basically you're solving this problem by creating these staking pools, so to speak. Also, you are putting the user experience in the forefront. Am I correct so far?
Yes.
Now, what I don't understand, and forgive me for being slow today, only 3 coffees till now, how do you differentiate the user experience, and how could you explain the user experience to someone who has never logged on to YouTube, Twitch? Which social media platforms are you most similar to, and which ones are you not similar to? So could you give us just examples? What could we expect on the platform?
Okay, right now we're launching in beta stage, and the beta stage, we're really focusing on the creator economy side of things. Okay. So I think the direct comparable would be Patreon.
Oh, nice. Okay, so basically, so the platform's idea is you first focus on the creator himself instead of creating a platform where they could just upload their material as is.
Correct. So, and there's good reason for that. If I would get into it quickly, the current landscape of blockchain industry, like not just social media, but also DeFi and most other type of applications, including like things like dating apps, apparently. I don't think the market is ready for a decentralized application widespread adoption in the mainstream. And I think that is due to like infrastructure and also regulatory lag. So like most of the web app you can imagine, like you have to log in using a browser extension wallet, and then you have to operate these seed phrases, and different blockchains have different, type of wallet addresses, and you have to transfer. There's smart bridges. For a mainstream user, it's impossible to learn, right? I think you probably have tried to explain to 1 or 2 of your friends who's not in crypto.
Yeah, 100%. It's like describing what is an airplane to a person living in the Ice Age. Let's say that. It would be quite hard.
Exactly. So I think the industry is not completely ready for widespread adoption. However, that's why we're starting with a decentralized creator economy solution first, which is basically we help creators monetize their current social media activity. So we sort of exist as a supplementation to their existing social media behavior instead of forcing them to learn and create a new social media profile.
Nice. So actually, you're already solving a real problem, which is monetization. And just knowing the current monetization policy, the big get bigger and the big get rewarded handsomely, I might add. But it's usually the problem with there's like a bell curve, right? So there's a lot of people not making a lot of money, just enough to get by. There's a lot of people not making any money, and then there's a small percentage which is making, yeah, a large chunk of the spoils, so to speak. So you're already addressing this gigantic issue.
Yes. I would say the bell curve is heavily skewed towards one side as well, just because nowadays social media is very saturated. Like it's very hard to start a new YouTube channel.
You're telling us, yeah. Yeah, and it's bloody hard. And quite frankly, I love the idea that you'd be able to monetize. So for us as a YouTube channel, could you just run us through the process? What would we do to start up?
Right. So to start up, you would register as a creator on only one's platform. And after doing that, right now we're taking applications, but in the future it will be open for the public. And once it's through, you will have your own staking pool. Might I ask, what's the channel called?
DailyCoin TV.
DailyCoin TV. So this channel will have an account on only one with a staking pool. And the staking pool has an APY that correlates with how active you guys are with producing content, with engagement, with being present. So the APY, if it stays high, it will attract your fan base or even other people to stake tokens into your pool. And by staking tokens in the pool, they would earn the APY, very standard DeFi practice. And on the other side, you as a creator would actually earn from that pool's total value as well. If the total value locked is, let's just say $1 million, you would be earning 1% per month of that pool.
Nice. And okay, so this is quite exciting, and actually I'm gonna register right after this call. But actually, what's next? So for us as a YouTube channel, so we're growing steadily by churning out, well, quality content, we like to believe. And basically, right after, this is another way for us to monetize it. But for people, what's the experience like for the regular user? It's just a way for them to, like in Patreon, to pay homage and support their favorite channel or the content they would like to see more of.
So I think there's two parts, right? Number one is there's a psychology behind people to want to support certain channels, right?
Yeah.
Like there are some channels I watch religiously, and I don't pay a dime for the content they produce. For example, Kyrgyzstan is one of the channels that I love, and they put a lot of money into it. So they have a Patreon account, which I pay for. So that's something that I think can understand. Like, I am not necessarily buying anything from them, And the second part would be to actually connect. So they can support you on only one, but they can also connect with you. Because there's this thing we call Genesis NFT. Every creator on the platform has only one, hence the name. And by owning this NFT, you actually also earn part of the total value locked from the pool. And so it's almost like investing into your creator and becoming this special relationship with them, because there's just only one person that owns the Genesis NFT. Like, imagine owning the Genesis NFT of Kyrgyzstan, right? And I will become one of their biggest Patreon, and I'll get special perks. And these perks are to be decided by the creators themselves. Maybe it's I'll feature you in a video, maybe it's I'll teach you how to trade, maybe it's, I don't know, like I'll hang out with you or something, right?
Wow.
Access.
That's amazing. And this is right now, as I understand, in beta. You're rolling it out. When are you rolling it out? What's the due date?
We're actually shipping our first closed beta tomorrow.
Wow. So this is coming out right on time.
Right on time. Exactly.
Nice. And for people, where could they go to find more information about your great project?
I think the most lively update would be coming from Twitter, and our Twitter handle would be only one NFT. Also check out our Discord and Telegram.
Yeah. I have to ask, and I'm sorry in advance, the association with OnlyFans. I think you get that quite a lot, right? Because of the similarity of the names. How do you feel about that, just from a human standpoint? Because that project is, let's just say, has a reputation which is not always the best. But it's so. How do you battle this stigma, so to speak?
Yeah, so I think as with any startups, pivots are very important. And we did
Yeah.
start off by getting inspired by OnlyFans. We didn't start off by wanting to create an adult site, but what we were
Yeah.
inspired by was their business model. There's something special that OnlyFans is doing. They allow creators to monetize their content very directly by selling it to those that want it, right? So this form of selling premium content is actually like almost like doing decentralization before decentralization was made a trend. It's almost like going back to the iTunes days where you have to purchase every single song when you want to listen to it. So that type of directness of getting rid of middleman, allowing content creators to monetize is what we were inspired by. And and therefore our name has some similarities. However, we did pivot our way out and become what we just described as more of a creator economy solution.
Oh yeah, yeah. You guys are as day and night as it comes. The name, I think, similarity in the long run. I don't think people will care that much because, if I understand you correctly, this is just stage one, right? So you're creating the creator empowerment features, so monetization features. And what's next? What will be next for the project? Could you give us a sneak peek into the future?
Yeah, so there's this other feature we're launching called initial NFT offering. And basically what this is, as I described earlier, there's been a lot of NFT drops. Every day we see these drops raising 10,000 Solanas or something. And these money are going to, a couple artists' pockets. They run off, buy their watches and cars, right? And I feel like that's kind of a wasted opportunity for the ecosystem. So instead of doing that, we want to launch a launch pad that helps projects raise funding by pre-selling their NFT. So I'll give you an example. Axie's Infinity, the biggest NFT-based game out there.
Yeah.
Instead of raising funding to build their project with pre-selling of their fungible tokens, they can actually pre-sell their Axies, the in-game monsters. And by doing that, they can raise $2 million easy, and they can build their product, and then they can do their ICO with a much better valuation because they already have a product. Probably more community members as well. So we're trying to create a new way of fundraising. If you Google initial NFT offering, we are the first result because I believe we're the first one to do this. And for that feature, we're launching around mid-October.
Okay, and how is this even achievable? Could you just give us technical details? I know it's kind of nerdy, but you're built on which chain? On Ethereum? Solana, yeah. And basically, why did you pick Solana, first of all? And second of all, so what's the technical, let's just say, implementation, let's just say, scheme for this? So how easy is it to do? Should the project get in touch with you? Could you give us some information? How long could it take? What is the mechanism behind it?
Yeah. So we're picking Solana for one very good reason. So to build a successful social media, you need to achieve the network effect, which means the value of the network grows as the number of participants grow. And to do that, you need to reach that critical mass amount of users, which means a lot of interaction with the underlying blockchain. If every single interaction would cost a user $50 or more, it's just never going to scale. We need something that enables microtransactions. And that means a very high TPS with a low gas fee. And at the moment, Solana would be the best foot forward for us to start things off. And I believe that Solana not only is scalable, but it's also secure and it's also fairly decentralized. Albeit it is in beta. So, a couple of weeks ago, we saw they have like this short downtime for like half a day.
Yeah, we were one of the first ones to break that story, actually. Quite proud of ourselves there. And unfortunately, that's why I'm asking, because there are so many competitors now. Of course, Solana, up until that point, had the spotless record, or close to. So, I understand the high TPS. I understand the network effect, and that's why you picked Solana. But how specifically will the NFTization happen? So you basically are able to gamify, well, NFTize every monster from, for example, using Axie Infinity example. So how really would it happen? Could you just run us through the technical details for our nerdier audience members out there?
Right. So for Ethereum, as you all know, there's different standards, right? Like if you want to create an NFT, it's ERC 721, or if it's semi-fungible, it's 1155. However, in Solana, there's no such standards. You actually use the same minting contract. And I guess if you go down to the code level, the difference would be quantity equals always equals to 1. And that would make the token unique, and that makes it an NFT. So essentially, Solana's biggest difference with Ethereum, or most other chains, I believe, is that it's not coded using Solidity, it's using Rust. And even if you're a Rust engineer, you're listening, even the Rust language they use is not the most orthodox type of Rust programming framework. They kind of use a very, I guess, sophisticated way of, weaving Rust into their framework, and also you actually need a lot of JavaScript to make Solana work. So yeah, when we first tried to hire our engineering team, actually it was quite difficult to find the right people, because you do need to find someone that understands blockchain, so ideally has experience in Solidity, and they need to understand Rust and also JavaScript. So that's sort of the stack you're looking for if you're a listener and you're looking for a team to build a project on Solana. And just because Solana is so new, it's not easy to find someone that has worked in a Solana project before. So when we started, Solana official ecosystem count was about 120. There's only 120 projects, and nowadays I think it's almost 400. I'm not too sure. And on Ethereum, it's at least 10 times more, or if not a lot more than that. So it's a very new ecosystem. The technology is still being ironed out. Even the mainnet is in beta. However, I think it has a very promising future, and it will enable a lot of consumer-facing apps that require scalability.
Yeah, amazing. And could we give our viewers at home a tidbit of more information to read about your new updates? Where could they find it? They could go to your Twitter handle, and they could go to your website, correct? If they want to learn more.
Yeah, so our website has all the links to all of our social pages, including links to our white paper and pitch deck. So feel free to take a look there. Otherwise, our team is very active on Telegram. If you were to ask any questions at a group, our admins will answer. So yeah, that's where you can find us.
So I want to pivot and do the flip side of crypto question for today. What do you see as the biggest obstacle you're going to face in the near and not so near future? Basically, what do you see as your biggest obstacles which you'll have to face and are facing today?
I think this is something that if you look at the activity of different decentralized applications over the years, you'll see that it correlates with the market. And that means when the entire crypto market, basically Bitcoin price, once it dips, the activity on these different protocols and applications also dips, right? So there's a very high correlation between the token price and the actual activity on the user's side. So I think that's one challenge that the industry needs to sort of iron out. Like, I think as time goes, as the industry matures, the volatility would decrease, and that will create like a more, I guess, linear growth for most of the startups within the industry. And basically, one of the biggest hurdle is, I think, the existence of infrastructure solutions is still in its infancy. For example, if you want to bridge a Solana USDC token to Ethereum, it's not that easy. Like, I use FTX, so I can transfer to FTX, and FTX has this bridge to transfer back. But how else can you do it, right? Like, a lot of people would be stopped. Like, okay, I don't know how to do it. I'm just not going to do it. So I think that kind of interoperability is very important. Being cross-chain, NFTs, like, it's hard for NFTs to go cross-chain because like usually there's only one of it, right? So it's kind of hard to like maintain the authenticity. And yeah, things like wallets, seed phrases, all these things in terms of user experience, I think needs to be simplified before we can reach an adoption. I hope that answers.
Yeah, it definitely does. And just from our own sake, I could say for the viewers at home especially, look, this is a rare opportunity where a project comes along and addresses the heart of the matter first. So only one definitely has the number one problem, at least for content creators in their sites, which is monetization. One, and it's definitely a project we'll be very keen on looking at how you progress in the future. And if you have any questions, please feel free to either tweet at them, ask them on Telegram, and I would like to thank Leon for participating. And if you have any questions for Leon, we can leave them down below and we'll make sure to write an article about it. Right, so this was the Flipside of Crypto interview. Thank you, Leon. Thank you, everyone. See you next episode.